What's up, YouTube? Just wanted to give a little quick update about how the PoE journey is treating me so far now that I've gotten over the post-gauntlet blues. So every league that they do the gauntlet, I just don't feel any motivation in playing the regular trade league anymore. Probably because it just feels like such a different experience, but I was looking through some pobs and there's a build that actually catches my eye. And what you're seeing right now is not actually the build, because I'm actually trying out Bone Shatter because people kept telling me to try it out. They said it would be amazing. Let me tell you something. It is not amazing. Bone Shatter is the equivalent of playing auto attack that hurts you, and that does a little bit more damage the more you attack. Most of the clear here is probably from Herald of Ash explosions, and obviously this character is not built really well, and it's just Eternity Shroud, and I just slapped it on, and it's not Juggernaut, so you don't get the mitigation. But this is a prime example of a skill that's just so bad, so horrifically designed that it will never be good. You can give it self-chill, you can give it 100% crit, you can give it 1000% multi, you can give it infinite damage, you can give it a million trauma stacks, and this skill will still be garbage. Purely because its coverage is not there, its AoE is probably not good enough, and yeah, it's just literally a Herald of Ash build currently, and that's just how it's played. Like if I put it Infernal Blow, the clear is a lot better. Single target of Bone Shatter is probably really insane. The numbers are definitely there, so you can pretty much consider it as a single target skill that you can use. It has kind of a built-in melee splash, and that's actually one of the main problems with strike skills, is that outside of the top strike skills like Frost Blaze, Lightning Strike, a lot of skills need melee splash to function, and Bone Shatter is actually one of the exceptions in that you do not really need melee splash. So that's why skills like Double Strike, Dual Strike are just absolutely horrendous. Having melee splash is a huge damage loss. And yeah, but let's move on from shitty abilities and talk about this new build I found on PoE Ninja, and probably my next build for the league, as yeah, and this is probably one of the highest DPS builds on PoE Ninja. So a lot of people always ask me to look at the highest damage and see what good builds come out, and here you see something special, Reap. So my next build that I'll be trying to do, and this is gonna show you like how I actually make the builds in terms of trying to theory craft them. Like obviously theory crafting builds kind of weird a little bit. A lot of builds have already been thought of, but I look at a skill, you look at the PoE Ninja, and then you try to see if you can actually convert the build over to something that you want to do. And if it's something that interests me, then yeah, I'll try to make it. I'll try to make it more budget. I'll try to give it a little bit more defenses. And then you can also filter out the bullshit that you see that a lot of these PoE Ninja has. Now, this person here is playing, you would think he's playing an Aura Stacker, but this guy's an Aura Stacker using pretty much gear tier CI gear. I mean, his gear is absolutely crazy. And the only difference is he swaps out 2 links. He uses, or 3 links, or a couple links. Use Cyclone, Cast on Crit, and Reap. And then he gets CoC Effect, Fist to Lightning, and Awaken Cold Pen. This is actually a very not min-max setup. I'm going to show you why real fast. Is if you import this guy's profile over. So let's see. Import his profile over. You can see that the skill is not even like fully converted. He has half Fizz and then half Lightning. Or like, I think it's 60% Lightning. So his conversion is, he gets, what, 50% Fizz converted to Lightning with the gem, which is actually just ridiculous. So he could literally just use Anomalous Fizz to Lightning, or does he not use it? Yeah, I don't know why you would not use Anomalous Fizz to Lightning, but so obviously this guy, immediately you see that he's made some, he's not really like trying to min-max the profile, and he pretty much just put together this gear set to get the #1 highest damage, because you can see just such a simple change already gives him an insane amount of, or not insane amount, but a large amount of damage. So this skill is actually not fully converted because of the way he's doing it, because his only conversion is Fizz to Lightning. And in the end, when you want the most damage, you always want to convert everything. So you go from Lightning, then Lightning to Cold. So this build, even though the number is high, could be a lot higher. So this guy just threw together a bunch of random things. So yeah, of course he has this helmet. This is like the de facto rich Aura Stacker helmet that you flash around if you have money or exalts. So the meteor helmet. So this is important because it has 15% increased effective non-curse auras. He has 2 Nebuluses, and Nebulous cast on crit with Cyclone. It could feel pretty good, right? So he has Flame Dash, Arcane Surge. He uses Flame Dash to proc Arcane Surge, and then I guess he just casts Assassin's Mark. Not really sure what's going on there. Probably just used to boost the tooltip. So he has double damage scepter, 2 double damage scepters. I think double damage scepter is actually absurdly expensive right now. So his amulet is one of the expensive ones, right? Vitality, crit multi, RMR. So his suffixes are near perfect. The prefixes leave much to be desired, but he does have increased area of effect in AoE and area of damage. So that's pretty good because Reap is an AoE skill. And he does have 2 Call of the Brotherhoods or implicits. And this is actually, he has a +2/+2 stack of walls. And this is actually pretty rare, but +2/+2 of AoE that isn't meant for Spark is actually a lot cheaper. And this is what, a +8 or +6 Hands of the High Templar or attack crit. Now attack crit here is very important because he's playing cast on crit, so it needs a pretty high crit chance. He's 100% crit chance with Reap and then 98% crit chance with Cyclone. So he's maxed out on crit, and then he uses a Stygian. I'm assuming because Stygian gives you the most damage. Headhunter actually gives you 0 PoE Ninja DPS. And the Stygian is just all damage, no real ES. I guess he has 8% chance for Flash for use not to consume charges. Kind of an interesting enchant, not really sure why he has that. So this is the cooldown recovery rate. So he uses this Stygian and this boots because of cooldown recovery. I'm not really sure how impactful cooldown recovery actually is. So I don't know if you can actually test it out. So what happens if we edit the Stygian and take out cooldown recovery rate? Does it actually change the DPS of the build? And what just happened? Well, I guess cooldown recovery rate must be pretty big because he just lost half of his damage because the trigger rate went down by a lot. I don't really know. Is that actually how it's supposed to work? I don't know how PoE Ninja or PoB works with cast on crit spells. Maybe that's how it works, but seems like cooldown recovery rate is pretty important if you can actually get to the optimal trigger rate. And because he's dual wielding and he's using haste and has a lot of aura effectiveness with necromancer bonus, he's able to get the attack speed required. So attack speed is like pretty fast, right? Trigger rate, effective trigger rate is 9.88. I don't know if you can see attack speed. Attack speed on Cyclone is 10.12. So all of this ends up being pretty ideal. And that's pretty good. So let's see, move on to the Flash, Vessel of Inktar. People use Vessel of Inktar if they're trying to get tooltips because it gives you shock when you don't have skitter bots, and this thing gives you cold and lightning and fire exposure. And also, I think this might make your shock more, like 30% increased effect of shock. So the Flash actually ends up being pretty good, right? So what happens when we disable this Flash? It's a 10% damage Flash. Wait, this is not Reap. So Reap, if you disable this Flash, you lose around 10%. Bottle Faith is like, Bottle Faith is a lot because so Vessel of Inktar and Starlight Chalice actually ends up being pretty similar. So I think this Flash might be a hidden OP Flash for a lot of builds. I know a lot of people don't really use it yet, and it also gives you Ward. And Ward is actually pretty good, especially on an Aura Stacker that you have a lot of effective HP per point. So that could be something that more people could incorporate, especially if you use Secrets of Suffering. And that's actually going to be the tech that I'm going to use, is Secrets of Suffering. So it's Flash, Sinner's Wall, Bottle Faith, Aziri's Promise, and then he has 1 passive point voices. Anytime you see someone has a 1 passive point voices, you know the person is balling out of control, right? This, what's it called? Blanket of Snow, Snowstorm, which is like the common highest DPS large cluster you can get. You get what? Pen, and then you also get extra cold when the enemy's chilled or something. So he doesn't really have that many RMR clusters, or he actually has a good amount. So all of the ones that are 35% effect, he has RMR clusters, and then he has, or he doesn't have RMR clusters, and the one that are first among equals, he has RMR clusters. He actually has Purposeful Harbinger, Vengeful Commander. Very, very strange picking of medium clusters, I think, but whatever works. So you can see here, this is the big problem with spells like Reap. The problem with spells like Reap is Reap has no tags. So it's a physical spell. So getting multi is always a huge pain in the ass. So you can see here, the only multi is multi and multi for spells. So obviously, even this person with this budget doesn't have the money to get RMR and double multi-jewels. So you can see here, he pretty much settles for his jewels doesn't even have double multi. So you can see how bad the market actually currently is. And it's actually just kind of sad. So he does actually, what's it called? Prioritizes percent life a lot. I'm not really sure. It's probably because he needs percent life for the build for Reap to function. Otherwise, Reap might just take up a lot of his, what's it called? Might just kill him. And he's chaos damage. He's probably very susceptible to chaos damage because this is not a CI build, of course. So he's not CI. So he's pretty much at 75% chaos res. And will he actually die to chaos damage that much? And the answer is, surprisingly, he's actually relatively tanky against chaos damage. His max hit taken is 13,888, 24,789. I actually played this variant of the build a while back, not cast on crit Reap, but self-cast Reap, and it wasn't as bad as you would expect when you have capped chaos res. So build is actually relatively tanky, but you can see here, it's really hard to skill to crit multi. Like if this person had insane gear on another spell, like Arc or something, or any Fizz or a lightning spell or cold spell, this would probably be in the 600% multi range. So this is just a, what's it called? Abyss Jewel for a Stygian. So basically, Transcendent Flesh has insane value for skills that don't have a lot of tags, and it's probably the de facto choice for the best gem. Unnatural Instinct is another really good jewel that people use because Unnatural Instinct gives you a lot of area of effect and cast and mana and cast speed, and it even gives you duration, which does tend to be pretty good. And Might of the Meek also seems to hit these nodes, so it's actually a double benefit. Wait, does it? No, it does not hit those nodes. It just draws a huge circle. Or maybe it does. I'm not too sure, 100% sure about that. But Unnatural Instinct is really, really strong in that slot if you actually need the AoE. So let's move on to the jewels. So you can see here, Reap, Conk Effect, Fizz the Lightning, Awaken Cast on Crit, Awaken Cold Pen, Cyclone. And then he has Hero of Purity, Defiance Banner, Discipline, Hero of Thunder, and Aspect of the Spider on the boots. Precision, Smite, Empower, Zealotry. Now here is something that I don't really understand why people don't do more, is putting Fortify linked to Smite. When you put Fortify linked to Smite, it's so much more damage reduction than having Determination or Molten Shell or any of these other links, right? So this is something that most people in softcore don't really do. But if you have to keep up Smite all the time, that means you'll keep up Fortify almost all the time too. And Fortify gives you the most damage reduction out of anything. So you can see here the calcs, 140k, 240k. So let's see what happens. You turn on Fortify. You can see Fortify immediately gives you a lot more Fizz damage reduction, and it really just skyrockets the survivability of the build. And it's only one gem socket, and you'll pretty much have it up all the time as you need to smite for damage anyhow. So he has Hatred and Wrath on the Call of the Brotherhood. So this build is a little bit tooltip warriored out on PoE Ninja, but it's actually not that far from being playable. And I do think that this build does have merit to be played. You can also play this with Arc. We did see a profile in the previous weeks with Arc, with Cast on Crit. Now, the reason why I wanted to try this build out is because I feel like with Secrets of Suffering, this build could be really, really strong, especially with Starlight Chalice getting increased effect of non-damaging ailments to get you more brittle. A lot of times on Cast on Crit builds, a lot of the big problem is trying to get enough crit chance. So I'm going to try to remake this build with a lot more budget and using Secrets of Suffering to get the actual crit chance that you need. Because crit chance is a huge struggle for the build. That's the main reason why you need Bottle of Faith, why you need this Watcher's Eye. That's what, like double crit and cold pen. And you also get a free 20% to 30% pen if you use Cult of Fire. So there's a lot of benefits of using, what's it called, Secrets of Suffering. And I do think it is underused on ore stackers and Cast on Crit builds. I do know that cold is a really good layer of defense, but Secrets of Suffering will lower the amount of the entry level for the build by an insane amount. So that's what we're going to be trying. So you can see here, I don't know if we can add a Secrets of Suffering here. So what's this? The Interrogation. Well, you can see here, Interrogation, you lose a jewel socket, you get Secrets of Suffering. and this guy already doesn't shock, so it should be perfectly fine. And I do think that this build will end up being pretty fun, and I do want to try out the Aura Stacker a little bit just to see how it works with Secrets of Suffering. Hopefully I still have my Aura Stacker gear or some of it. We'll probably need to get a new pair of boots with cooldown recovery rate, so I can probably use the current boots I have. So this pair of boots has cooldown recovery rate. Actually ends up being pretty good. Shaper Hunter boots. But we'll see how that goes. Anyhow, I hope everyone was pretty happy to see that profile. It is pretty rare to see like unique builds up here that aren't like Cast on Crit, Ice Spear, Elemental Hit, Spectral Shield Throw, or Flicker Strike, or Instack Wander. I guess Cast on Crit is pretty insane damage scaling. I do hope that the coverage will be good enough. I know this person has Conk Effect, but I do think that there's other links that could be better. But we'll see how it goes. There will be a fun process to try to see how good this build actually is. And we can always switch in any skill. That's the beauty of the Aura Stacker. And I do like playing builds that you have some, like some flexibility with what skill you want to use. Because what happens if Reap is just terrible? Then I can swap in something else. So that's the plan in the future. And I will probably be playing D2R when it comes out. So maybe you'll see some highlights from that. A complete blind or noob playthrough, as I have no idea how the game actually works. I do see the graphics and they actually look pretty good, and that's what matters, graphics. So that's why PoE 2 will be the best game ever released. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do, so you can buy no items in trade because no one is selling any items in trade. And see you next time. Bye.